It started with something small, just a simple insult. A careless word thrown at a chosen one, but within minutes, the room shifted. Lights flickered. People who had been laughing suddenly grew silent. Uneasy. It wasn't rage like anyone had ever seen. It was as if heaven itself leaned in, responding to the heartbeat of the one God had marked. What others dismissed as just anger became a storm that no human could explain. And maybe, deep inside, you've felt this too. Have you ever wondered why your emotions shake people in ways you can't control? Why, when you're upset, the atmosphere around you changes, almost as if the world itself feels your pulse? That's because your anger, child of God, is not ordinary. It carries divine weight power that can shift atmospheres, steer spirits, and cause ripple effects far beyond your imagination. God has been shaping you, molding you, and placing His fingerprint on your spirit. When life tried to break you, He strengthened you. When enemies mocked you, He turned their words into fuel for your calling. And when your fire rises, it is not simply emotion, it is heaven's alarm bell ringing through your veins. You are not fragile. You are not hidden. You are chosen. So let me ask you, what really happens when a chosen one loses control? The answer is not just dramatic, it is earth-shaking. Stay with me, because today we are about to uncover 9 shocking, unstoppable things that happen when a chosen one gets mad, and why the results spiral completely out of control. Type 777 inches, the comments, if you feel this message stirring in your spirit right now. And let it be your sign of alignment. And to every single one of you who has ever supported this channel, whether through prayers, shares, or even a super thanks, thank you from the bottom of my heart. Your faith keeps this fire burning. Now, brace yourself. The truth you're about to hear may change the way you see your own power forever. God's chosen ones. 9 things that happen when a chosen one gets mad out of control. When a chosen one speaks in anger, something extraordinary ignites in the atmosphere. Their words are not mere syllables carried on breath. They are currents of divine voltage surging through human language. Unlike the voice of the ordinary, their sound is charged with spiritual authority, an authority God Himself has entrusted to them. Echoing what Proverbs 18:21 declared, "Death and life are in the power of the tongue, and those who love it will eat its fruits." But here lies the weight when emotions of a chosen one are stirred. The authority within their voice multiplies in intensity. Their anger does not sound like rage, it sounds like judgment, correction, exposure. It is as though heaven itself leans closer when they speak, sealing their words with eternal ink. And deep within, the hearers know this is not simply human frustration, it is the thunder of destiny passing through a fragile throat. Why is it that a single frustrated sentence from them can feel like a hammer breaking rock? Jeremiah once confessed, "Is not my word like fire, declares the Lord, and like a hammer that breaks a rock in pieces?" Jeremiah 23:29. And truly, when a chosen one utters words in anger, those words do not fade into the air. They remain as embers smoldering in the conscience of the hearer. Sometimes, for years, the echoes replay in the stillness of the night, unsettling hearts that thought they had moved on. Their sentences haunt memory like a melody you cannot unhear, ringing with conviction long after the moment has passed. Could this be the hidden design, that their words are not accidents of emotion, but instruments chiseling the soul toward its true shape? A casual insult from others may sting, But from the chosen, it burns like prophecy. Imagine hearing, "You're not really my friend." From an ordinary mouth, it may sound immature. Yet when a chosen one says it, masks fall, illusions shatter, and the truth hidden beneath long-standing pretenses is suddenly uncovered. What secret chambers of pride have collapsed in people's hearts after such an arrow of truth pierced through? How many sleepless nights were spent replaying one sharp sentence that cut deeper than any blade? And in those silent midnights, did the hearer not wonder whether God himself had used that moment of anger to uncover the lies they had lived in? The chosen one becomes both mirror and flame, revealing who we truly are and burning away the disguises we never wanted to face. The chosen carry the mantle of truth, and when truth merges with holy fire, it strikes harder than deception spoken in calmness. Their honesty, though not intended to wound, becomes a blaze consuming falsehoods. And here arises the terrifying beauty of it. Their words reveal not only what is, but also what is yet to come. Like an accidental prophecy spoken in the heat of passion, one could say it is the Spirit's way of bypassing restraint, letting truth escape through the cracks of emotion. The hearers may resist in the moment, but later, when the echo lingers, they realize it was less about anger and more about revelation. Is this not why such words feel both destructive and holy at once? The story of Nathan confronting King David after his sin with Bathsheba reminds us of this reality. 2 Samuel 12-7-9. Nathan's words pierced the king not with insults but with divine authority. "You are the man." Those few words shook a throne, brought a king to repentance, and echoed through history as proof that a spirit-filled tongue can slice through layers of denial. Could it be that when a chosen one speaks in anger, God sometimes borrows their fire to shake the foundations of another's hidden sin? The listener may feel judged, exposed, even betrayed, but beneath the sting is an invitation to transformation. The wound becomes doorway, and the offense becomes the seed of repentance. Even in art, truth has been portrayed as a double-edged weapon. In Shakespeare's Hamlet, when words unmask hidden guilt, they carry more force than swords. "I will speak daggers to her, but use none." Do not the tongues of the chosen ones carry this same paradox, daggers that wound not the flesh but the spirit? Words that slice open the conscience so that healing may begin. The theater reminds us that language can shake empires without drawing blood, and the chosen live this drama in reality. Their voice becomes a stage where heaven scripts its verdict, and every sentence is both weapon and cure. How often has your conscience bled from such a dagger, only to later discover that the pain was necessary for your healing? Modern voices testify to this too. The painter Frida Kahlo once wrote in her diary, "I paint flowers so they will not die." She understood that creation has power to immortalize. In the same way, the chosen one's words, though spoken in a storm, carry permanence. They imprint on the soul like colors that refuse to fade. They are not scattered dust, but brushstrokes on eternity's canvas. Strokes that outlive the moment and keep speaking long after the speaker is silent. Can we deny that sometimes the harshest words are also the most unforgettable, shaping our memory like an artist's most daring stroke? And yet, the chosen one does not always desire this effect. The psalmist cried, "Set a guard, O Lord, over my mouth. Keep watch over the door of my lips." Psalm 141-3. Many chosen ones echo this plea, knowing that their words leave marks that time cannot erase. To carry such a gift is also to carry a burden, the burden of restraint, of trembling awareness that one sentence could either heal or scar for life. And yet, the paradox remains, though they may long for gentleness, heaven has designed their tongue to carry fire. How then shall they live? If silence itself sometimes feels like disobedience, this is the mystery of the chosen tongue. It is a double-edged sword. Once spoken, it cannot be taken back. It echoes like prophecy, reverberates like a symphony's last chord in Beethoven's Ninth, lingering long after silence falls. And that permanence is why people never forget. Their words etch themselves onto souls as surely as inscriptions carved in stone. To some, it feels like a curse. To others, like a blessing. But none can deny the imprint. The question is not whether their words will mark, but what kind of mark they will leave. So, the truth remains undeniable. When a chosen one speaks in anger, their words are not just weapons, they are revelations. They burn away deception, expose hidden realities, and leave permanent imprints on the spirit. And today, those who carry this mantle must rise, not to shrink back from their authority, but to wield it with holy discipline. For heaven has entrusted your voice with fire, and the world trembles when you speak. And if this fire has been placed within you, then it was never meant to stay silent. Stand up, chosen one. Guard your tongue, but never doubt its power. Your voice is the hammer, the flame, the prophecy. Unleash it with wisdom. For the earth is waiting. When a chosen one becomes angry, silence does not need to be broken by shouts or slammed doors. The shift happens before a single word escapes their lips. Their very presence is charged with weight, like an unseen crown pressing on the atmosphere. What Proverbs 15:1 whispers, a gentle answer turns away wrath. But a harsh word stirs up anger, becomes visible in reverse here, before the words are even spoken. The room already trembles beneath a hidden current. Could it be that what surrounds them is not simply personality, but the echo of heaven's authority moving through an earthly vessel? And if that is so, then how heavy must it feel to carry such a mantle every day, knowing the air bends differently wherever you stand? This reality does not only expose others, it isolates the chosen one too. For who can truly rest in a room where the very atmosphere shifts to match your spirit? The change in energy rolls across the space like a sudden change in air pressure before a storm. People nearby become restless. Conversations collapse into fragments. Even the most self-assured start stumbling over their sentences or looking away. What unseen force presses on their chests, making breath come heavier and thoughts less clear? Isaiah described the Messiah's presence in Isaiah 11:2 as, "The Spirit of the Lord shall rest upon him, the Spirit of wisdom and understanding, the Spirit of counsel and might." That same Spirit flickers in the chosen one's emotional surge. When agitated, their inner atmosphere shifts, sending ripples across invisible waters until everyone feels the tide. And isn't it striking that confidence itself bends before them, as if the room's very foundation knows its structure is no longer neutral ground? In those moments, truth feels nearer, and pretense feels impossible. Those with spiritual sensitivity perceive it instantly. Anxiety flickers in them without explanation. A subtle unease rises like mist. Others may not know why they are fidgeting, but the weight is undeniable. Could the chosen one's stirred spirit be like the Ark of the Covenant in 1 Samuel 5-4, where even Philistine idols toppled without a single hand touching them? And if so, what responsibility rests upon a heart that carries such a charge? The irony is that those who are spiritually blind dismiss it as mood or tension. while their souls quietly recognize something divine. How many times have you walked into a space and without knowing why, you felt stripped of excuses and compelled to face the truth you were hiding? That is the unspoken ministry of presence. It convicts without speaking. It calls without demanding. The effect extends beyond people. Animals tilt their heads as though hearing a frequency we cannot. Plants in the room seem stiller, as though awaiting rain. Imagine the silent migration of monarch butterflies before winter, a tremor of instinct. Invisible, yet unignorable. This is the same type of signal the Chosen One's energy sends out when angered. A vibration felt more than seen. Their presence becomes like a cedar tree struck by a hidden wind, sturdy yet swaying, fragrant yet trembling, a sign of unseen power at work. And doesn't creation itself testify that when divine authority moves, every living thing reacts? Romans 8:22 reminds us, "For we know that the whole creation has been groaning together in the pains of childbirth until now." The Chosen One's spirit stirs that same groan, awakening nature's echo of heaven's unrest. But where there is power, there is also danger. In history's shadows stands Ezzelino da Romano, a 13th century warlord whose wrath was described as a black sun over his court. Unlike the Chosen Ones, his presence spread terror without truth, and his unchecked fury turned cities to ashes. Isn't this the warning that power without purpose becomes destruction, while power with divine assignment becomes purification? Psalm 37:8 counsels, "Refrain from anger and forsake wrath. Fret not yourself, it tends only to evil." The Chosen Ones face a narrow path between influence that heals and force that harms. And this is why the weight of their calling demands restraint. Without it, their gift becomes a curse. If even kings and warlords crumbled under their own shadow, what will become of the Chosen One if they do not learn to channel the fire within? Energy behaves like sound waves in a grand cathedral. One note can set the entire structure humming. The Chosen One's spirit, whether calm or furious, sets the resonance of the environment. And when that resonance shifts, everyone feels it. Sometimes it is like walking into a chapel at the exact moment a pipe organ begins its thunderous chord, beautiful, overwhelming, inescapable. In Acts 16:26, it was not swords but songs that shook the prison until its doors opened. In the same way, the Chosen One's state of heart can open or close the unseen gates in any space they occupy. Could this be why the Spirit calls them again and again into discipline? For if harmony can build freedom, then discord can also build chains. And who among us can deny that we have felt a room grow heavy when bitterness sits unconfessed in the air? This is why many Chosen Ones discipline themselves to master their emotions. They know that a single moment of frustration can unsettle an entire household, workplace, or gathering. Their energy is not merely personal, it is environmental, atmospheric, spiritual. It is like carrying a lamp of living fire. You cannot hide its glow, and you cannot drop it without sparks flying. Isn't that why James 1:19 says, "Let every person be quick to hear, slow to speak, slow to anger"? It is not a suggestion but a survival code for those who wield invisible storms. The Chosen One carries not only words but weather, and the storm within them demands they either build shelter or cause collapse. Their restraint is not weakness, it is strength under holy control. Their energy, whether calm or angry, sets the tone of the environment. And when it is disturbed, everyone feels the storm within them. The Chosen One does not intend to cause this shift. It simply happens because their spirit is powerful and their anger releases a surge into the environment. Yet within this weight lies a calling to steward presence as carefully as one stewards words. For presence can heal or harden, lift or crush, bless or burn. And perhaps the greatest revelation is this: the chosen one does not only carry storms, they carry the peace that stills them. When their spirit is anchored in God, they can transform chaos into calm. The same voice that shakes a room can also settle it. The same energy that unsettles can restore. Rise up, chosen one. Learn the art of stillness. For your silence is thunder, and your breath is wind. The room does not change you, you change the room. Walk in with discipline, and you will carry peace. Walk in unguarded, and the air itself will tremble. Heaven has placed this mantle on you. Stand up, master it, and shift the world with grace. When a chosen one becomes angry, something uncanny stirs in the atmosphere. It is not only their voice or their expression that changes, but the hidden theater of relationships begins to crack open. Anger, for the chosen, operates like a torch carried into a cavern. Shadows scatter, and what once crouched unseen is forced into plain view. Proverbs 26 contra 26 declares, though his hatred be covered with dissimulation, his wickedness shall be showed before the whole congregation. And so it is, the chosen one's fury flushes out hidden resentment like fire driving serpents from their holes. Have you noticed how people who once smiled in your presence suddenly slip when tension rises, letting slip words sharper than swords? Is it not strange that one outburst reveals more truth than years of politeness ever could? And, beneath the sting, does this not feel like justice, that the Spirit himself pulls masks away at the very moment you least expect it? The masks cannot survive the pressure. Smiles harden into sneers. Compliments dissolve into mockery. And false loyalty crumbles with astonishing speed. Those who secretly resented the chosen one's rise in life suddenly speak the envy they swore they never had. A so-called friend, when cornered by the weight of that fiery presence, blurts, "I never liked you anyway." Could this be coincidence? Or is it revelation wrapped in conflict? Ecclesiastes 7-9 warns, "Be not quick in your spirit to become angry, for anger lodges in the heart of fools." Yet, in the chosen, anger becomes more than folly. It becomes a filter, separating gold from dross. What else can explain why one heated moment makes false supporters expose themselves with such reckless honesty? And isn't there also relief in knowing the truth at last, even if it burns? Because at least you no longer walk in illusions. In psychology, this is the collapse of repression. Under stress, the unconscious mind leaks what the lips were trained to hide. The chosen one's energy amplifies this collapse like a tuning fork striking the frequency of truth suddenly. What was buried cannot stay silent. In architecture, tension exposes weakness under earthquake simulation. Beams that appeared flawless splinter along hidden cracks. Likewise, the tremor of the chosen one's anger reveals where human foundations were weak all along. Does this not explain why relationships that seemed unshakable collapse in a single heated exchange? The shaking is painful, but it is also merciful. It spares the chosen one from dwelling in structures doomed to fall. And beyond psychology or physics, isn't this simply heaven's way of reminding us that truth, once pressed, cannot remain buried? Scripture shows us the same pattern. In John 13:27, Judas's betrayal was exposed not in calmness, but at the breaking of bread, when the presence of Jesus pressed him until his mask could no longer hold. Anger in the chosen works similarly, not always through violent words, but through the spiritual pressure it unleashes. Those who never wished them well are forced into confession, and while it cuts, it also clarifies. Could it be that anger is one of God's least understood instruments of revelation? For hidden enemies are not uncovered by flattery or comfort, but by fire and friction. And as Jesus himself said in Luke 8:17, "For nothing is hidden that will not be made manifest, nor is anything secret that will not be known and come to light." Isn't this precisely what unfolds when a chosen one's spirit is provoked? Even nature bears witness to this truth. When a forest fire sweeps through dry land, creatures once camouflaged are driven into the open. Snakes slither out. Hidden predators are revealed, and what was buried under leaves is now plain to see. The blaze is destructive, yes, but it also uncovers what lived beneath the quiet. Isn't that the same effect the chosen one's righteous fury has on the people around them? What once hid under the foliage of polite words cannot withstand the fire of exposure, and as the smoke clears, clarity remains. Not every presence near you was ever truly for you. Perhaps the fire was the only way to see what the shadows had been hiding for so long. History, too, testifies through its villains. Lucius Aelius Seianus, the Roman prefect under Emperor Tiberius, built his empire on charm and false loyalty, only to reveal his treachery when pressed. His ambition burned the empire's trust, and when his mask finally slipped, he fell with disgrace and brutality. Does this not prove that hidden enemies always reveal themselves under pressure? Psalm 55:21 warns. His speech was smooth as butter, yet war was in his heart. His words were softer than oil, yet they were drawn swords. And when such people are near a chosen one, anger tears away the buttered words and shows the blade beneath. What greater mercy could there be than seeing the sword before it strikes? And what greater tragedy for the enemy than to be unmasked before their schemes succeed? I once heard the story of Raphael, a quiet mason in a small village, who said, "I never truly knew my friends until the day I lost my temper. Some left me, but the ones who stayed are still my brothers today." His simple confession captures a profound truth. Anger may scatter the crowd, but it leaves behind those who were real all along. Doesn't this remind us that sometimes God permits conflict not to break us, but to cleanse the circle around us? For in the silence after the storm, what remains is loyalty, tested by fire. And could it be that the chosen one's pain is also their pruning, shaping the circle that will sustain their destiny? Thus, anger for the chosen one is not merely destruction. It is purification, revelation, exposure. It is the fire that strips away disguises and forces truth to stand naked before the eyes of destiny. In the end, this is why many chosen ones testify. When I got angry, I finally saw people for who they truly were. Could it be that this very pain is God's way of freeing them from the prison of deception? And if so, then what feels like loss is in fact liberation. What looks like breaking is actually building. Rise, chosen one. Do not fear the losses that anger reveals, for heaven is cutting away the snakes from your garden. Stand tall, knowing that every mask removed is a mercy. Every exposure is a gift, and every hidden enemy revealed is God's way of surrounding you only with those who truly belong. When a chosen one speaks in anger, their words carry a cutting edge unlike any other. It is not the ordinary clash of human emotions. It is truth uncloaked, spoken without polish or pretense. a blade that pierces through layers of illusion. Jeremiah 20:9 recalls the prophet's fire. His word is in my heart like a fire shut up in my bones. I am weary of holding it in. Indeed, I cannot. In the same way, when a chosen one is stirred, they cannot contain what their spirit has long observed. And isn't it startling how one sentence, spoken in the rawness of frustration, can fracture years of fragile peace? What others bury in silence, the chosen one releases in flame. This fire is not random. It is a pressure that has been building for years. And when it erupts, it is both volcanic and surgical at once. The paradox is clear. Their venting feels like judgment because their honesty slices through facades with the sharpness of destiny itself. Unlike most people who soften words or cushion confrontation, a chosen one often strikes with unfiltered honesty when wounded. Their anger refuses to dress lies in ribbons. It compels them to unveil reality in its starkest form. What Ephesians 4:25 commands, therefore, having put away falsehood, let each one of you speak the truth with his neighbor, is magnified under the heat of their fury. Friendships built on half-truths and polite performance collapse as though a foundation of sand was suddenly tested by a storm. Romantic bonds may crumble beneath a single confession that feels like thunder in the heart. Have you ever wondered why their words linger like an earthquake's aftershocks, shifting the terrain of every relationship they touch? It is because their truth is not shallow opinion, it is truth distilled from years of watching, praying, discerning. Their words arrive like lightning in an instant. The darkness of pretense is gone, and all that remains is what cannot be denied. It is not destruction they seek, but their spirit cannot tolerate deception when stirred. Anger strips away filters, leaving words to emerge with the weight of years of quiet discernment. In psychology, this is the moment of disclosure, when hidden observations that the subconscious has carried finally burst forth. In physics, it resembles a pressure chamber, silent, contained, until one spark forces an irreversible release. Could this explain why their words strike with such precision, naming motives and flaws others thought invisible? And is it not terrifying to realize that what they reveal is often what was waiting to surface all along? Their words are like seismic waves, pressures invisible, until suddenly the ground splits and the hidden fault lines are exposed to those around them. The eruption feels catastrophic, but in truth, it is simply revelation, long overdue. The scriptures show us again how raw truth reshapes relationships. When Peter denied Jesus 3 times, it was not a sermon that broke him, but the piercing truth of Christ's gaze. As Luke 22:61 records, the Lord turned and looked straight at Peter. That silent exposure shattered his illusion of strength and redefined his journey forever. In the same way, a chosen one's words in anger may feel like judgment, but often they are mirrors revealing realities no one dared face. And could it be that this breaking is also a form of divine mercy, cutting away the diseased tissue of pretense so something real can begin? Truth always disrupts before it heals. And the chosen one's words are often the scalpel God uses to perform spiritual surgery. Painful, yes, but also life-saving. History and art echo this same truth. The 20th century poet Rainer Maria Rilke once wrote, "For one human being to love another, that is perhaps the most difficult of all our tasks. And yet the chosen one, in their anger, often accelerates this difficulty, stripping relationships of their false ease and exposing the hard, costly truth of love." In Verdi's opera Otello, One phrase of jealousy shifts the fate of nations. Likewise, one sentence from a chosen one can dismantle the scaffolding of lies that held a relationship together. Their voice becomes both judge and liberator, like a symphony that crescendos until silence itself feels altered. Could it be that the chosen one's anger is less about destruction and more about revealing whether the foundation was ever strong enough to stand? And in that revelation, isn't there a chance for redemption for what survives? The storm is often stronger than before. The devastation lies in the permanence. Once spoken, the words cannot be recalled. They echo in memory as verdicts, reshaping how the hearer sees themselves and the chosen one. Hosea 6:5 declares, "Therefore I have hewn them by the prophets, I have slain them by the words of my mouth." To the chosen, it may feel like venting, but to the listener, it feels like prophecy, judgment, and severance all at once. How many bonds have been redefined forever after a single outburst, and how often has the chosen one later wept, realizing they never meant finality? Yet their words carried it anyway. Words can be forgiven, yes, but rarely forgotten and in the memory of others. They remain like inscriptions etched into stone. This is why relationships with chosen ones burn with intensity. Their anger does not pass like passing clouds. It shifts the landscape like tectonic plates realigning the earth. What once was smooth is now fractured, and what once seemed permanent is revealed to have been fragile. Yet within the pain lies a strange gift. Truth has finally been spoken, and illusions no longer chain the bond. Could it be that the breaking itself is the pathway to a truer kind of union, or, at times, the freedom from false ones? Perhaps this is why Amos 3:3 asks, "Do two walk together, unless they have agreed to meet?" The breaking reveals who was truly walking with you, and who was only pretending to. Stand up, chosen one. Do not despise the fire within your words, but learn to wield it with wisdom. For heaven has not armed your tongue to destroy, but to reveal, to purify, and to reshape. And though your anger may shatter, it also frees. Walk forward, not in fear of loss, but in confidence that God is aligning your relationships with truth that cannot be shaken. Not every chosen one expresses anger with shouting or explosive rage. In fact, some of the fiercest expressions of their wrath manifest in silence. When a chosen one withdraws into quiet during anger, that stillness becomes unbearable, like a furnace with no visible flames, yet scorching anyone who dares to draw near. Habakkuk 2:20 reminds us, "But the Lord is in his holy temple. Let all the earth keep silence before him." That holy silence carries weight. And so does the chosen one's silence, charged with spiritual electricity. It unsettles the atmosphere without a single word spoken. Have you ever felt the heaviness of a silence that speaks more truth than 1,000 accusations? Their quiet becomes a battlefield where invisible judgments fall, and the absence of sound resounds like a divine gavel in the soul. Those nearby sense the shift immediately. Conversations stumble, laughter feels forced, and an invisible storm begins to gather in the air. Their silence is not emptiness, it is energy condensed, restrained, compressed until it becomes almost unbearable. The room itself seems to tighten, like the moment before a lightning strike when every creature pauses. Psalm 39:2 describes this tension well. "I was silent and still, I held my peace to no avail, and my distress grew worse." Isn't it startling that the chosen one's silence does not diffuse tension but multiplies it? Their restraint is not a sign of weakness, but the warning of a storm still building. People sense instinctively that silence is not escape, but judgment delayed, and the delay itself makes the wait more terrifying. This quiet often feels like judgment. It mirrors hidden guilt, forcing wrongdoers to confront what they hoped would remain concealed. Silence becomes an unspoken prophecy, pressing against hearts like a verdict not yet delivered, but impossible to escape. Could it be that the chosen one's silence is the Spirit's way of holding a mirror up to others, showing them the truth of their own actions? Proverbs 17:28 observes, "Even a fool who keeps silent is considered wise. When he closes his lips, he is deemed intelligent." But the silence of the chosen one goes beyond wisdom. It becomes revelation. A pressure so profound it makes the guilty squirm without a trial. And perhaps this is why silence frightens more than shouting, because it forces others to argue with themselves, hearing their own conscience echo louder than any accusation. In nature, this phenomenon has its echoes. The deep stillness before an avalanche is deceptive. Snow seems calm, untouched. Yet beneath lies a weight so immense that one shift will unleash destruction across an entire mountainside. Likewise, the silence of the chosen one conceals immense power. When released, it can crush illusions, shatter facades, and devastate relationships built on lies. Isn't it frightening to realize that their silence, not their shouting, is often the true warning sign? The lion in the tall grass stalks in silence long before its roar. Doesn't this teach us that silence often carries more danger than noise? And if nature trembles before its hidden forces, how much more do human hearts tremble when faced with the sacred restraint of one chosen by God? History gives us grim reminders of silence misused. Franz Xaver Schwarz, the treasurer of the Nazi Party, was known not for fiery speeches like Hitler, but for his chilling silence, his quiet presence that concealed complicity. His refusal to speak truth did not shield him, it made him an accomplice to atrocity, a shadow of destruction. Does this not reveal the contrast? Silence in the hands of the wicked breeds devastation, but silence in the chosen one becomes a divine scalpel, cutting away deceit. Eclesiastes 3:7 says, "A time to keep silence, and a time to speak." The chosen one carries this tension in their spirit, knowing their silence can both protect and expose, heal and wound. And when silence is their weapon, it carries both the danger of judgment and the possibility of mercy. And when the silence breaks, when years of restraint erupt into words, the impact is greater than any storm. The hearers are shaken not only by what is spoken, but by the weight of what has been building unspoken for so long. The silence itself was already punishment. Those who were used to the chosen one's warmth, laughter, and counsel suddenly feel the cold withdrawal of their spirit. Isn't it true that absence can wound more deeply than presence in anger? As Amos 8:11 warns, "Behold, the days are coming when I will send a famine on the land, not a famine of bread, nor a thirst for water, but of hearing the words of the Lord." So it is when the chosen withdraw, the famine of their words starves the hearts of those who once took them for granted. Their silence becomes a drought of affection, a famine of presence, a holy absence that leaves the guilty gasping. This is why silence from a chosen one feels more dangerous than shouting. It is not passive, it is active restraint, a spiritual storm suspended in the air. People tremble not because of what they hear, but because of what they cannot. It is thunder without lightning, judgment without verdict, exposure without declaration. And the most haunting question remains, when their silence finally breaks, will it destroy or redeem? Silence itself can be the prelude to revelation, and those who endure it are never the same again. Rise, chosen one. Do not underestimate the power of your silence. Guard it. Wield it wisely, for it can crush pretenses and cleanse atmospheres. Let your silence become a shield, not a sword of destruction. And when the time comes to speak, speak with the voice of heaven, because the world will tremble not only at your words, but also at the silence that prepared them. When a chosen one is consumed with anger, something beyond the ordinary unfolds. Their frustration does not remain locked within their chest. It reverberates into the unseen realm, bending circumstances in ways they never consciously intended. Proverbs 18:21 already warned us. Death and life are in the power of the tongue, and those who love it will eat its fruits. Yet, for the chosen one, it is not only their words, but their very thoughts that carry weight. A fleeting impulse, a silent wish born in the heat of anger, can ripple through reality like a stone dropped in water. How terrifying is it to realize that one thought, "I hope they fail," can set invisible mechanisms into motion? And what does it mean to live with a spirit so powerful that even silence speaks? Their inner world becomes a generator, and when charged by fury, it releases signals into creation that cannot be easily recalled. Their energy manifests with unusual velocity. It is as if their emotions act as accelerators, amplifying whatever seed is sown in the soil of their spirit. In physics, resonance teaches us that when two frequencies align, small vibrations can produce massive effects. So too with the chosen one. Their inner frequency resonates with unseen laws, amplifying thought until it becomes tangible consequence. Isn't this why people connected to their rage sometimes experience sudden setbacks, sickness, or loss? Jeremiah 17:10 records God saying, "I, the Lord, search the heart and test the mind, to give every man according to his ways, according to the fruit of his deeds." But for the chosen one, the fruit of their inner fire sometimes falls upon others long before they themselves comprehend what happened. Their very presence becomes like an unstable reactor, harmless when calm, dangerous when provoked. Stories of Scripture confirm this mystery. In 2 Kings 2:24, when Elisha was mocked by youths, his righteous indignation released a force that summoned bears from the forest, striking terror into the land. He did not plan such destruction. It was the overflow of a mantle too weighty for mockery. Could it be that the chosen one's anger today operates in similar ways, opening doors of misfortune, not because they decree it aloud, but because their spirit vibrates with divine authority? This realization humbles them more than it satisfies, for they recognize how thin the line is between their frustration and unintended judgment. And how many times have they later trembled, realizing that their moment of inner fire coincided with someone else's downfall? Their conscience then wrestles with the burden of knowing their spirit can alter destinies, even when their lips remain shut. Nature itself gives us an image of this phenomenon. A volcano does not need to roar every day to reshape the land. Pressure building in silence can alter mountains when it finally releases. Likewise, the chosen one's restrained fury can shift entire atmospheres without dramatic display. Isn't it strange that the quietest moment of their anger can feel more destructive than 1,000 loud confrontations? The lion in the tall grass stalks in silence long before its roar. Doesn't this teach us that silence often carries more danger than noise? And if nature trembles before its hidden forces, how much more do human hearts tremble when faced with the sacred restraint of one chosen by God? Their emotions are like tectonic plates, silent in movement, but capable of producing earthquakes that reorder lives in a single instant. History illustrates the dangers of power unguarded. Charles Guiteau, the man who assassinated U.S. President James Garfield, was driven not by reason but by obsessive resentment. His thoughts, festering unchecked, eventually spilled into catastrophic action. Isn't this the mirror image of what the chosen one must avoid? That unchecked inner fire can release devastation, whether intended or not. Ephesians 4:26 warns, "Be angry and do not sin. Do not let the sun go down on your anger, for those chosen by God." This warning is more than advice, it is survival. For their anger is a force multiplier that heaven itself watches closely. Their gift is double-edged, one side heals, the other harms. Without restraint, it can spiral into destruction faster than they ever imagine. And there are testimonies outside history books. Maria, a seamstress in a small town, once confessed, "I was furious at a neighbor who cheated me in business. I said nothing. But days later, her shop burned down. I cried more than I celebrated, because I wondered if my heart had carried a fire I never meant to release." Her words are simple, yet they echo the mystery. The chosen one's thoughts are fertile soil. Whatever seed, love or wrath is planted, it grows quickly, bearing fruit that cannot be ignored. And is this not the paradox, that what others think idly, the chosen one manifests with power? For their emotions are catalysts that heaven does not treat lightly. Their spirit becomes a sacred garden where every thought either blossoms into blessing or mutates into thorn. This is why their anger is not just an emotion but a spiritual force. Their thoughts are magnets pulling outcomes. Their hearts like gardens where unseen seeds sprout with alarming speed. Romans 12:20 et un exhort. Do not be overcome by evil, but overcome evil with good. The chosen one's challenge is to redirect the storm of their emotions into seeds of blessing. Because every thought is a construction material in the architecture of reality. Their spirit is both cathedral and battlefield, and what they allow within determines what manifests without. The silence of their fury can become the blueprint for ruin, but the discipline of their peace can design new heavens over their lives and the lives of others. Stand up, chosen one. Guard your heart with vigilance, for it is a fountain that shapes realities. Do not let rage sow weeds of destruction. Let your thoughts plant forests of blessing instead. You carry a force that can curse or heal, dismantle or build. Rise in discipline, channel the fire, and let heaven's purposes, not anger's impulses, flow through you. For the chosen one, anger is never just an emotion. It is a doorway, an opening in the atmosphere that draws conflict from both seen and unseen realms. What seems like a fleeting moment of frustration can suddenly spiral into arguments, misunderstandings, and opposition that feel disproportionate to the trigger. Why is it that after an outburst, chaos seems to arrive uninvited, as though it had been waiting at the threshold? Ephesians 4:27 warns, "Do not give the devil a foothold." Anger in the chosen one becomes that foothold, a crack in the wall of their fortress, where shadows find their entrance. And have you noticed how swiftly storms gather once peace is broken, as if darkness were drawn like moths to flame? The unsettling reality is that their inner turbulence can summon outer turbulence, and what begins as personal unrest can escalate into battles they never imagined fighting. It is almost as if the adversary waits patiently, circling like a predator, For the very moment, calm is lost. Their anger becomes a beacon, radiating through the unseen like a flare in the night, signaling vulnerability. The enemy knows that the chosen one's true strength is magnified when they walk in peace. So every eruption of rage becomes an opportunity for ambush. 1 Peter 5-8 cautions. Be sober-minded, be watchful. Your adversary, the devil, prowls around like a roaring lion, seeking someone to devour. Could it be that the chosen one's anger lights a torch for that prowling lion, making them the prime target? And is it not sobering to realize that battles they never asked for often find them precisely in moments of unrest? This is why maintaining calm is more than personality, it is warfare strategy. Without discipline, their inner fire becomes an invitation for external attack. These battles rarely remain confined to emotions. Anger can manifest in arguments with loved ones, followed by unexpected calamities, accidents, sickness, or sudden financial loss. The unseen realm responds to their emotional state because their spirit is deeply wired to authority. In psychology, this could be called emotional resonance, when inner discord alters outward outcomes. In physics, it is like a destabilized frequency that disrupts harmony across the system. Darkness feeds on this disruption, multiplying what began as a single spark into a consuming blaze. Could it be that what they believed was just a bad day was in fact a skirmish in an invisible war? Proverbs 29-22 affirms this pattern. A man of wrath stirs up strife, and one given to anger causes much transgression. And how often has a chosen one looked back, connecting the dots, realizing that their moment of unrest was the very crack through which misfortune entered? History and art reflect this truth. Dietrich Bonhoeffer, the German theologian who resisted Hitler, once wrote, "The tempter does not fill us with hatred of God, but with forgetfulness of God." And isn't this the subtle danger of anger, that in the surge of emotion, the chosen one forgets their anchor, leaving doors wide open? In Shakespeare's Othello, one seed of manipulated anger unravels loyalty, love, and empire. Anger, once ignited, becomes theater for battles greater than the stage itself. The chosen one must grasp that their anger is not just their own, it is an invitation for cosmic drama. If they do not guard themselves, they become unwilling actors in a script the enemy has long prepared. And doesn't it stir the heart to realize that the stakes of their emotions are far higher than ordinary human quarrels? This is why chosen ones often find themselves surrounded by chaos after outbursts. Anger lowers their defenses, turning their spirit into exposed territory. Their emotions are not neutral, they are weapons. When aimed carelessly, those weapons backfire, inflicting wounds on themselves and those around them. For the chosen one, what begins as justified anger can easily become a foothold that evolves into a battleground. Isn't it humbling to realize that the fiercest wars they face are not against people, but against forces drawn to the cracks in their own peace? And isn't this why Scripture insists that the fruit of the Spirit, love, joy, peace, patience, self-control, is not mere virtue but armor? To neglect these is to fight unarmed. To embody them is to become unshakable. A fortress no arrow can pierce. Rise, chosen one. Do not hand the enemy your sword by surrendering to rage. Guard your peace as if it were treasure, because it is. Walk in discipline, not because you are weak, but because your strength is too costly to squander. Let your calm become your fortress, your patience your shield, and your love your most unshakable weapon. For when you stand in peace, no battle can break you. Chosen ones are born carrying a current of spiritual authority that others cannot imitate. Their words are not mere syllables, they are vessels of divine weight, capable of healing the broken, uplifting the weary, and unlocking doors that no earthly key could open. Their presence has the ability to steady storms. Their prayers can pierce barriers, and their love becomes a balm for fractured hearts. James 5:16 affirms this truth. The prayer of a righteous person is powerful and effective. But here lies the paradox when anger seizes them. That very authority becomes volatile, shifting from a fountain of life into a torrent of destruction. How can the same mouth that once blessed now pierce like a dagger? The same spirit that comforted now terrify those it once sheltered? This duality makes their existence both awe-inspiring and perilous. It forces them to recognize that divine power is not a toy but a trust, and every misstep in emotion can tilt the scales from blessing to breaking. This instability is not a small matter. It is dangerous for both the chosen one and those within their reach. They were called to be vessels of light. Yet, in moments of rage, their light flickers and shadows seep in. Psalm 4:4 whispers, "Be angry and do not sin. Ponder in your own hearts on your beds, and be silent." Yet when anger overrides discipline, the chosen one becomes like a lamp with cracked glass, its flame not extinguished, but scattered, casting distorted shadows instead of guiding beams. Could it be that the very power meant to heal nations can, without restraint, fracture those closest to them? And isn't it haunting to realize that a single burst of their fury can undo months of gentle building? Their soul becomes a battlefield where calling and chaos wrestle. And in those moments, the people around them often feel the tremors of that unseen war. Their spirit is highly charged, and because of this, even the smallest surge of anger can produce massive ripples. In physics, instability in a charged system often results in violent discharge, what scientists call electrical breakdown. Likewise, the chosen one's anger discharges power unpredictably, scattering it rather than channeling it. What was meant to be a river of life becomes a flood that erodes everything in its path. Proverbs 25:28 gives the image plainly. A man without self-control is like a city broken into and left without walls. Without the mastery of discipline, their gift becomes a double-edged sword, cutting not only enemies but allies. Is it not clear that unchecked passion is too dangerous to ignore? The chosen one begins to realize that emotional outbursts are not private affairs, but public tremors that reshape the lives of everyone caught in their orbit. Nature reflects this mystery. Consider the volcano majestic, fertile in soil, shaping landscapes with beauty. Yet when its pressure is ungoverned, the same mountain becomes catastrophe, burning fields and burying villages beneath ash. So it is with the chosen one. Their presence, meant to enrich, can devastate when channeled through rage. Isn't it sobering that a heart created to shelter can transform into a storm that dismantles? Their power is never neutral. It either nurtures like rain or devastates like fire. And here is the weighty truth. Their responsibility is as great as their gift. The chosen one must learn to live like a master architect, directing power with precision, or else their foundation collapses under its own weight. Their life becomes a warning that beauty without discipline is peril, and power without control is ruin. History also teaches through cautionary tales. Emperor Nero of Rome was born with extraordinary influence and authority. able to inspire devotion through words and command. Yet his unrestrained wrath and volatility turned his reign into terror, leading to fires that destroyed the city he ruled. His power, once a tool for order, became a weapon of chaos. Could it be that chosen ones today, if careless with anger, mirror such downfall in smaller but equally devastating ways? Proverbs 16:32 declares, "Better a patient person than a warrior, one with self-control than one who takes a city." Patience protects authority, while rage erodes it from the inside out. The Chosen One's story is not meant to echo Nero's collapse, but to embody the opposite: disciplined strength that stabilizes kingdoms instead of unraveling them. And doesn't it shake the heart to realize that restraint can be more revolutionary than conquest? And after every outburst, chosen ones often feel the toll. Their energy is drained, their spirit feels heavy, and the power that once flowed freely feels scattered like fragments of a shattered mirror. Jeremiah 2:12 reminds us, "The heart is deceitful above all things, and desperately sick. Who can understand it?" They realize that anger deceives, promising release but delivering exhaustion. Have you noticed how they carry regret afterward? As if their own fire consumed not only others, but themselves. The aftermath is a reminder that their gift is not infinite. It must be stewarded with discipline, not squandered in chaos. And perhaps this heaviness is heaven's mercy, a signal urging them to maturity, calling them to forge stability from fire and to choose construction over destruction. Yet within this sobering truth lies a hidden mercy. Anger becomes a teacher, showing them the value of stability and restraint. They learn that their calling demands mastery over emotion, because their power is too weighty to be wasted on explosions of wrath. Romans 12:2 calls them to renewal. "Do not be conformed to this world, but be transformed by the renewal of your mind." Isn't it powerful to realize that stability is not a cage but a channel, turning wild electricity into steady light that can guide generations? Their destiny is not to be unstable storms, but unshakable pillars. For the Chosen One, discipline does not diminish power, it amplifies it, ensuring their gift becomes a legacy of life instead of a cycle of wreckage. Rise, Chosen One. Do not scatter your power in bursts of rage. Channel it, master it. Your calling is too great to be wasted in chaos. Stand as a fountain of life, not a storm of destruction. Be the vessel of light heaven designed you to be, and let your power remain stable, steady, and unstoppable in the hands of God. Chosen ones are often seen as patient, quiet, forgiving, and endlessly kind. They are the people others lean on for calm when tempers flare, the safe harbor in a world of storms, the ones who forgive when others condemn. For this reason, many underestimate them, mistaking gentleness for weakness, kindness for naivety. Yet Scripture cautions in Ecclesiastes 3-7 that there is a time to be silent and a time to speak. And what happens when silence finally breaks, when years of restraint, prayer, and mercy give way to a sudden unveiling of their true strength? The transformation is staggering, like thunder splitting the heavens after days of stillness. Isn't it unsettling to realize that the lamb you dismissed may roar like a lion before you know it? And does it not force us to ask whether patience is itself a form of latent power, waiting for its appointed hour when the chosen one snaps? It is never merely human anger. It is divine authority rising to the surface, demanding recognition. The shift shocks everyone who thought they could trespass upon their patience without consequence. Those who mocked, betrayed, or disrespected them suddenly find themselves staring into eyes blazing with a fire that cannot be ignored. Proverbs 19:11 reminds us, "Good sense makes one slow to anger, and it is his glory to overlook an offense. Yet when that offense multiplies and the threshold is crossed, their slow-burning patience turns into an eruption of clarity." Could it be that this eruption is not weakness unraveling, but strength unmasked? Those present are struck silent, realizing they had mistaken humility for frailty. And isn't it frightening that the one they dismissed as harmless now carries the weight of heaven in their voice, silencing every pretender? Psychology calls this the threshold effect, a point at which accumulated pressure releases in one defining act. The chosen one embodies this principle spiritually. Their face alters. Their voice carries a frequency that vibrates like a struck bell, and their presence demands attention. Theologians would call it righteous indignation, the same force that stirred Jesus to cleanse the temple in Matthew 21:12, overturning tables of corruption. Isn't it terrifying that the meek one, once dismissed, and suddenly command a room with divine authority? The effect is architectural. It is like watching the quiet scaffolding of a building collapse to reveal the towering cathedral within. Those who once strutted confidently around them now tremble, for they have touched the lion hidden in the lamb. And does this not show us that transformation is not change into someone else, but the unveiling of what was hidden all along? Nature provides its own metaphor. A glacier may appear still for centuries, its quiet mass deceiving the eye, yet beneath lies immense pressure. And when the ice finally cracks, entire landscapes are reshaped in a moment. So it is with the chosen one. Their long-suffering patience stores unseen weight, and when released, the shift terrifies those who thought them powerless. Psalm 18:39 declares, "You armed me with strength for battle. You humbled my adversaries before me." Have you noticed how those who once laughed at the chosen one now fall silent in their presence? Their roar echoes longer than their silence ever did. And isn't it profound that stillness is not emptiness but stored potential? And that release, when it comes, rewrites the terrain of human respect. History, too, has its reflections. Take Jan Hus, a humble Czech priest of the 15th century, once underestimated for his quiet preaching. But when he rose in fiery defiance against corruption, his words ignited movements that shook kingdoms and terrified rulers. In a similar way, the chosen one's sudden shift from silence to strength redefines how others see them forever. Romans 12:19 reminds us, "Beloved, never avenge yourselves, but leave it to the wrath of God." Yet God's wrath often finds its vessel in those he chooses. And people are forced to recognize that patience should never be confused with passivity. Isn't it haunting to realize that kindness is not obligation, but choice, and choice implies power? And is it not revolutionary that gentleness, when combined with holy fire, carries more authority than intimidation ever could? Ordinary lives testify to this as well. David, a quiet shopkeeper from a small town, was known for enduring insults from competitors with grace. But when betrayal pushed him beyond measure, his confrontation in public revealed a strength no one expected. Those who once scorned him stepped back, realizing his calm had never been weakness, it had been controlled power. Proverbs 14:29 tells us, "Whoever is slow to anger has great understanding, but he who has a hasty temper exalts folly." The chosen one's slow temper is not absence of fire, it is discipline. And when the fire comes, it purifies as much as it terrifies. Isn't it striking that those who witness such a moment never forget it, carrying the memory as a permanent shift in how they perceive both patience and power? The revelation is permanent. Once someone witnesses the transformation, they cannot return to their old assumptions. They now know the Chosen One is not simply gentle, but profoundly powerful. Not just patient, but deeply dangerous to darkness. Isn't it true that after such a moment, people rarely cross them again? Their transformation becomes a warning, a shield, and a testimony. Behind the veil of gentleness lies a warrior spirit capable of shaking foundations, reminding all that peace is power restrained, not power absent. And isn't this the very mystery of divine authority, that it hides itself in the quiet, only to reveal itself in a roar that shakes the soul awake? Rise, Chosen One. Do not fear the shock your transformation brings. It is the unveiling of what God planted within you. Let the world know that patience is not weakness but mastery, that gentleness is not defeat but strength disguised. When the lion within roars, let it be for truth, for justice, and for the kingdom of heaven. Your voice was not meant to be silenced. It was meant to awaken the world. Stand, and let your transformation command respect that no enemy can erase. 9 revelations have unfolded before us, each one peeling back the mystery of what happens when a chosen one is stirred in anger. Their words become weapons sharper than swords. Their energy shifts entire atmospheres, and hidden enemies are exposed in the blaze of their fire. Relationships shatter under their raw truth. Their silence grows heavier than storms, and their unspoken thoughts can bend reality itself. Anger draws battles from unseen realms, makes their power unstable like lightning without direction, and shocks the world with transformations that reveal the lion within the lamb. These are not exaggerations but living realities. And anyone who has stood near a chosen one in such moments knows the undeniable weight of their presence. Isn't it astonishing that one life, when marked by God, carries a force so immense that heaven and earth cannot ignore it? Each of these 9 truths carries one unshakable reminder: chosen ones are never ordinary. Their lives are magnets of spiritual consequence. What others dismiss as emotion in them becomes a weapon, a prophecy, or a revelation. To witness their anger is to witness the thin line between mercy and fire, patience and authority, silence and thunder. It is a sobering call to respect the weight they carry, but also a warning to the chosen ones themselves that discipline is not optional. It is survival without mastery. Their gift can scatter with mastery. Their gift can build nations. This duality is their constant tension, to either wound with their fire or heal with their light. Does this not remind us that their greatest victories will not come from power unleashed in rage, but from power restrained in wisdom? Isn't it clear now that kindness is not weakness, but restrained strength? Isn't it undeniable that patience is not silence, but stored potential waiting for its divine moment? The 9 dimensions we have walked through reveal that chosen ones live on the edge of heaven's authority and human fragility. They are both vessels of peace and instruments of holy fire. When they forgive, it shakes unseen chains. When they speak truth, it pierces veils of deception. And when they rise in righteous anger, it awakens people from slumber. This paradox is not a curse, but a calling, reminding us that God never hides his power in the arrogant, but in those willing to carry it with humility. And doesn't that make their transformation all the more awe-inspiring? When the humble suddenly roar with authority none can resist. So, chosen one, What will you do with this knowledge? Will you allow anger to consume your mantle and drain your strength? Or will you rise with discipline? Shaping fire into light, the answer cannot be delayed, because your influence is too great, your voice too powerful, and your presence too charged to waste in chaos. The world has already felt the aftershocks of your hidden authority. Now heaven calls you to wield it with clarity. This is not a moment for hesitation, but for awakening. You were not marked for mediocrity. You were set apart for impact. And if your words can cut like swords, imagine what they could build when governed by divine wisdom. Will you choose destruction? Or will you choose legacy? Stand up. Chosen one. Guard your words. Protect your spirit. Master your emotions. Let your calm be a fortress, your patience a shield, and your love the fiercest weapon you carry. For when your strength is governed by heaven, no force on earth or hell can stand against you. This is your call, your awakening, your mantle. Rise, and let the world see the power of God's chosen, not out of control, but fully under His hand. When you rise, generations will rise with you, and your roar will echo not in chaos, but in prophecy fulfilled. As we come to the close of this powerful journey, God's chosen ones, 9 things that happen when a chosen one gets mad out of control. It becomes clear that the chosen of God are not ordinary people. Their very existence carries weight, and when they are provoked, the ripple effects are unlike anything the world has ever known. We have walked through 9 dimensions of what unfolds when a chosen one's spirit is stirred, and each one has revealed both the danger and the glory of being set apart. We have seen that their words are never casual. They are weapons that pierce deeper than steel, carrying echoes that linger in hearts for years. Their energy shifts rooms instantly, altering atmospheres in ways that can silence conversations and stir unease. We have witnessed how their anger becomes a fire that exposes hidden enemies, forcing masks to fall and truth to stand bare. We explored the shattering of relationships, not because they delight in destruction, but because truth cannot coexist with pretense. Their silence, heavier than thunder, can convict, unsettle, and crush pride without a single word spoken. Their very thoughts, charged with spiritual authority, can unintentionally curse situations, altering destinies. We have seen how anger attracts spiritual battles, opening doors for the enemy to exploit weakness, and how unchecked emotion destabilizes their power, turning fountains of life into storms of chaos. And finally, we saw how transformation shocks those around them, gentleness turning to holy fire, patience revealing the lion behind the lamb, leaving witnesses forever changed. Each of these truths is sobering, but they are also liberating. They remind every chosen one that their life is not ordinary, their calling not casual, and their influence not accidental. God entrusted you with authority, and authority without discipline can become a double-edged sword. But authority guided by heaven, tempered by patience, and mastered through prayer becomes unstoppable. Isn't it true that what the world fears as out of control is, in fact, a call to deeper control? Control not of human strength, but of divine surrender. The ultimate message is not that chosen ones should never feel anger, but that their anger must be stewarded with wisdom. Scripture says in James 1:19-20, everyone should be quick to listen, slow to speak, and slow to become angry. because human anger does not produce the righteousness that God desires. Your anger is not meant to destroy your gift, but to awaken discernment, to show you the power you carry, and to remind you that your emotions are spiritual weapons. You are not called to waste fire in chaos, but to channel it into light that pierces darkness. So, here is the call, chosen one. Rise. Do not let your anger scatter your gift or drain your strength. Guard your heart. Master your emotions, and let your words become rivers of life, not arrows of destruction. The world needs your power, but it needs it under God's hand. People around you must learn that patience is not weakness, it is stored strength. And gentleness is not absence of power, it is power restrained for the right moment. When you rise in discipline, your roar will not only command respect, but will awaken the nations. And to you, dear viewers, thank you for walking with us through this deep and sobering teaching. If this message has touched you, challenged you, or awakened something inside of you, I invite you to take action. Like this video. Share it with others who need to hear it. Leave a comment below with your reflections. And subscribe to the channel so you never miss the messages heaven is pouring out here. And for those of you who have supported through super thanks or other ways, my gratitude runs deep. But let me say this clearly, whether you give financially or simply give your time to listen, to comment, or to pray for this ministry, you are part of this calling, and I am thankful for you. Before we part, I want to leave you with a blessing. May your days be filled with peace that surpasses understanding. May your nights be guarded by the presence of angels. And may your spirit burn with holy fire that cannot be quenched by darkness. May your words bring life, your presence shift atmospheres, and your love restore the broken. And when the fire of anger rises, may you have the wisdom to turn it into light, the strength to master it, and the courage to let God channel it for His glory. Rise, chosen one. Your authority is not meant to be out of control, it is meant to be under divine control. Walk in it, live in it, and let the world see God's power through you. Amen.
And we're gonna let it